Coming up next on News 5, if you think the government's going to help you out of a disabling accident, think again. Plus, we'll tell you why the nation's top serial killer specialists are in town. Stay with us. News 5 at 10 is next.
Some of the best investigators come to Kansas City looking for new ways to solve the murders of two young women. A teenage girl is arrested in San Diego for the murder of a Leawood man. And new money from the government helps police work closer with area residents.
In Kansas City, 5 stands for news. This is News 5 at 10.
Good evening, I'm Ann Peterson.
And I'm Wendall Anschutz. 2 murder cases which have baffled police in Independence and Kansas City, Kansas, are getting the attention of the top profilers at the FBI. Those who track down the nation's serial killers are spending the week in Kansas City. News 5's Betty Sexton shows how they work.
Well, here I am.
In the movie Manhunter, the murderer is modeled after a real-life serial killer. FBI profilers say the criminals they track are typically like this guy, white, in their late 20s to early 30s, very smart and cunning. But now they're finding more and more of the bad guys are actually females.
A part of any element of a crime is power and control and domination. Women have moved into the area. They are going to face the same stress and strains that anyone else would face, and that well may be a factor.
Napier says profilers are now examining whether a woman or women could be responsible for 2 murders, that of Diana Auld in Independence and Sarah De Leon in Kansas City, Kansas. There apparently are common threads in both cases.
There are things left behind that indicate the gender of the person, as well as the race and age.
Our Crime Stoppers reenactment shows how Diana Ault was gunned down in front of her little boy in her home. Independence police are looking for her killer, and detectives in Kansas City, Kansas are still trying to solve the 4-year-old murder of Sarah De Leon. It seems new technology may help in both cases, like satellites circling the Earth, possibly taking pictures while the crimes were being committed.
Sometimes we can get things that can't be seen if you were up close, but they can get them from a distance.
Betty Sexton, News 5.
Detectives from 8 states are also in Kansas City getting help from the FBI profilers.
Authorities in San Diego have arrested 3 people in the death of a Leawood man. We told you about the murder of John Lentz earlier this month. Police say a 17-year-old girl actually pulled the trigger. She was arrested early this morning. 2 men were also arrested for taking part in the crime.
President Clinton is putting a lot of money into community policing today. He announced grants totaling $74 million. The money will go to put 1,000 new officers on the streets of 142 cities and counties. Almost $2 million will be coming to Kansas City, and that money will be used for 26 officers in the community policing program. News 5's Barbara Porter has been looking into the new community policing program in Kansas City. Barbara, how does it work?
Wendell, as of May 1st, there are 6 community policing programs in Kansas City. Police officers get out of their cars and they walk their beats. Neighbors say there's a definite decrease in crime since the police arrived.
How's Joe doing today? He around or?
Officers Bingham and Brinegar talk to the residents on the northeast side of Kansas City. It's all part of the community policing effort.
When we first came out here, this was one of the highest calls for service areas that we had. We had a lot of drunks, we had prostitution and drug problem, and then the last couple of months it steadily decreased.
People say kids weren't even outside playing in the Likens neighborhood before the community policing program began. Now?
I love it. It's good. You know, you can feel safe at night. You can get out and walk and not feel like you're going to get jumped or, you know, be harassed by the prostitutes anymore.
So, well, y'all have a good night.
All right.
Be careful.
All righty.
It keeps a lot of the problems off the street. We've had a lot of problems with people standing on street corners and everything around the neighborhood, so I'm glad to see them, really.
Homeowners aren't the only ones who are glad to see them. The kids are, too.
Yeah. Which one do you want? I got George Brett. Ooh. Yeah, this is a new one.
George Brett.
Now, the program looks a little too good to be true. The police say they worry that it's just displacing crime instead of getting rid of it. But Wendell, with the federal dollars the city just received, the police are hopeful more officers will be able to take to the streets.
That'll sure help, and it does look very encouraging. Thanks, Barbara.
Hockey players, you're about to get more ice. Shawnee announced plans today to build a 2-rink ice facility, one National Hockey League size, the other Olympic size. This is what planners think it will look like. Private investors are building the $3 million project on the northwest corner of Shawnee Mission Parkway and Lackman Road. And to introduce the owner of the rink, Shawnee officials brought in just the right guy, the public address announcer for the Blades game.
Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for the gentleman putting the rink and the ice together in Shawnee. Let me introduce to you Mr. Stan Oliver.
I'm just a poor guy that wants to get an ice rink built, and I'm a little embarrassed by the attention I've received, not only today, but from Shawnee and over the last 100 days. I think that's all it really needed, was just somebody that decided, by God, we need an ice rink, and it's time we got it done.
Ground will be broken this summer, and the facility is expected to be up by January of 1995. Former Missouri State Treasurer Wendall Bailey pleaded not guilty to misusing state resources and money laundering. Bailey was indicted today in federal court in Springfield. He's accused of misusing the services of state employees and state equipment for his 1992 campaign for governor and converting campaign funds to his personal use. Bailey turned down offers to reduce the charges in return for a guilty plea.
Riverboat casinos in Missouri may be able to offer a few more games. The state constitution allows games of skill, like poker and blackjack, but voters said no to allowing games of chance, like slot machines. While in between is a gray area, games like craps, video poker, and video blackjack. Today, the Senate passed a bill to allow those games and sent it on to Governor Carnahan. The governor says he's inclined to sign it, and if he does, the bill will take effect immediately.
Well, if you're like most people, you don't have much money, a lot to spare.
That's right. So what happens when you're suddenly unable to work? Well, next you'll see how you could die waiting for the help you think you have coming.
And a convicted burglar wearing an electronic monitoring device managed to get away from authorities. You can help find him in tonight's Crime Stoppers Most Wanted.
We are losing our sunshine and gaining a chance of rain later tomorrow.
Coming up in sports, a royal salute to the greatest royal of them all, George Brett.
You probably think it could never happen to you, but an accident or illness could leave you unable to work, and what would you do next? If you think you can count on Social Security disability to come to the rescue, you're in for a big surprise. News 5's Russell Kinsall has been investigating the problem facing those trying to get their benefits and what's being done to help. Getting some surprising answers, aren't you, Russell?
Yes, indeed. Social Security disability is supposed to be the safety net, a lifesaver for those of you who can't work, you have no income because of a disability. But it takes so long to get that help, you could go broke or even die while waiting.
Leola Burton's health has been going downhill since 1986. That's why going up the stairs to her apartment is exhausting. She's been in and out of hospitals, close to death, and now she can't even hold down a steady job.
My blood pressure gives me the most problems.
And those problems send her here to Providence Medical Center in Kansas City, Kansas, several times a year.
I almost know all the doctors as well as I do my kids in the emergency room.
Leola also suffers pain in the joints, poor vision, and burning skin because of her diabetes. Her poor health has slowed her down so much, she's been fired from 2 jobs. So she applied for Social Security disability, but like most people, she was denied.
So after that, I tried to babysit, and I couldn't because I would fall asleep on the kids. And then I said, I can't take no more. So I refiled for disability.
Here's where you go to file for disability. But instead of getting help here, Leola found a bureaucratic nightmare, a system built in the 1950s, overwhelmed by the demands of the 90s. While they're processing your paperwork, you hope you won't be forced to drain your savings or sell your house to pay the bills.
You'll have to wait at least 2 months to hear a decision on your claim. If you're denied, Social Security Administration admits it does make mistakes sometimes and encourages you to appeal their decision. But that process can take well over a year.
And here's why. First of all, Social Security workers are facing a mountain of paperwork. In 1990, around 1.5 million claims for disability were filed. This year, the number of claims will climb to 2.5 million. Ken Bischoff is with the Social Security Administration.
We are swamped. There's no question about it. We've probably accumulating about 100,000 cases per year backlog.
More work and fewer workers to handle it, a result of government downsizing. The second reason for the long wait, the system used to decide a request for disability is archaic and inefficient. As many as 45 workers will handle a claim from the time it's filed to the end of the appeals process. While Leola waits, she's not working and has no income. Attorney Sharon Myers is handling Leola's appeal. Myers specializes in Social Security disability cases.
How bad does it get for some of these people that are waiting to get their disability checks?
I've had clients that have lived in their cars for, months at a time, some in shelters. Yes, I mean, that's not everyone, but certainly some people are really severely affected that way.
Glendora Cable saw her finances dwindle during the 13 months she had to wait to get disability. She believes a big part of the problem is the high denial rate when people first file their claims.
If you got doctor's records and everything else, I don't understand it. I think it's the reasoning behind it is hope people will give up.
The definition of disability is a very strict definition, and the fact is that probably about 40% of our claims are allowed initially. So there is a high denial rate.
And how long have you lived at that residence?
But if you're willing to fight and you file an appeal, your case will be heard by an administrative law judge in a hearing like this, and the chances are good you'll get your benefits. Leola just hopes she won't go broke or end up homeless waiting for that day.
Now, the Social Security Administration knows the system needs fixing, and it's working on it. It's come up with a major reorganization plan, and the goal is to shorten the wait for disability from 1.5 years to 5 months at the most. It's also hired 200 more administrative law judges nationwide to try and reduce the backlog of appeals cases. In the meantime, people like Leola Burton wait, and the rest of us pray it never happens to us. Now, Sharon Myers, the attorney we talked to for this story, told us that one of her clients just got notice a couple of days ago that he had been approved for his disability benefits. Unfortunately, he died 2 weeks ago.
What better proof that it takes too long?
It does take too long. It needs some reforming.
Thanks, Russell.
Taking a look at world news tonight, sniper fire in Sarajevo. Snipers are shooting at buses, cars, and people as they try to pass along one of the town's main roads. The snipers are firing from part of the town held by Serbs, but they're firing at random. So far, no one has been hurt. Palestinians in the Gaza Strip are cheering the arrival of their police force, while Israeli troops pull out. Some of the residents took time to shake hands with the new police officers. The police are there as part of the new plan for Palestinian self-rule.
In Rwanda, relief workers are getting food to thousands of hungry refugees. Rebel forces have slowed their attacks, giving workers a chance to deliver food to about 15,000 refugees. Haiti's military-controlled government swore in its new president today. The 80-year-old man is a justice in Haiti's Supreme Court, and he was chosen to replace the country's democratically elected president, Jean-Bertrand Aristide. South Africa's new cabinet took office today. Among the cabinet members are one of President Nelson Mandela's chief political rivals and his estranged wife.
Police are looking for a man who spent time in the state pen for forgery and kidnapping. News 5's Betty Sexton tells us about him in her Crime Stoppers Most Wanted report.
A man who uses a couple different names is apparently hiding from police. David P. Stolte, who also goes by Paul Stolte, is wanted on a number of bench warrants. He was behind bars in Kansas and Missouri. The latest charge, kidnapping. Stolte is a white man, 46 years old, 6 feet tall, and weighs 145 pounds. He has brown hair, brown eyes, and a mustache. If you've seen Stolte, call the Crime Stoppers Tips Hotline, 474-TIPS. Our second fugitive reportedly has run off with an electronic shackle, violating his probation. Chad C. Franklin originally was charged with burglary. Franklin's a white man, 20 years old, 5 feet 11, and weighs 160 pounds. He has brown hair and blue eyes. If you've seen Franklin, call the Crime Stoppers Tips Hotline at 474-TIPS. A reward of up to $1,000 is being offered for these fugitives. And remember, call 474-TIPS to report any crime and collect a reward.
Last month, your calls to the Crime Stoppers Tips Hotline helped clear 6 robbery cases and 3 murders.
Well, Dave Sweeney's just ahead with your 5-day forecast.
And if you're a man in your prime working years, you could be vulnerable to a layoff. We'll tell you why in tonight's Money Minute.
In tonight's Money Minute, a new study finds that middle-aged men are twice as likely to lose their jobs in a permanent layoff as they were 13 years ago. The report from Harvard University said all workers are more likely to have to look for a new job rather than wait for a recall, but men aged 35 to 54 are hit the hardest. About 1 million men face such a crisis every year. On Wall Street, the Dow gained 23 points to close at 3652.84.
In tonight's Family Health Minute, California leads the nation in the number of new AIDS cases, but most of the AIDS prevention budget is missing the mark. A study shows homosexual men account for 85% of new cases in the state, but receive just 10% of the funds allocated for AIDS prevention. A second wave of the epidemic appears to be emerging among teenagers and young gay men. A study to see if tamoxifen can prevent breast cancer in healthy women could resume within a month. The program is on hold following revelations of fraud in a related research effort. The National Cancer Institute says those problems are being corrected. Meanwhile, members of a Senate panel are waving the caution flag about tamoxifen. Critics point out it's linked to uterine cancer. Others claim the benefits of tamoxifen clearly outweigh the risks.
Hey, we're way into spring, and I still haven't turned on my sprinkler. Am I going to have to, Dave?
Well, it depends on what condition your lawn is in, I would
Well, it's
assume.
bad, of course.
Well, yeah, then I'd turn it on, but you're
Okay.
going to get a little help from Mother Nature later on this weekend.
Okay, we can continue then.
Maybe tomorrow, late tomorrow, but tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon, not too bad. And it was a good night to go do a little of this. Go to the plaza, take in your favorite restaurant, sit outside, and just kind of enjoy. It's a beautiful night in progress. Still is, not going to rain tonight, not here. It will if you go south, but here in Kansas City, stroll in the plaza, or just sitting on the front porch. It is a nice night outside. High temperatures around the area today. 81 here at Kansas City. That's up at the airport. 73 average or normal. 57 the morning low. Currently outside it is a very pleasant 67 degrees. Moisture starting to come up a bit, but it's not bad, and the winds are easterly at 6 miles per hour. High temperatures 81 here, 78 at St. Louis, 82 at Cape Girardeau. Presently 67 degrees, so it's a gorgeous night outside. And we have showers and thunderstorms, but not here in Kansas City. They are confined down to the southern, southeastern section and western part of the state. Take you through 12 hours of radar imagery and show you what's going on. Here's Kansas City, and watch what happens. The air from about here south is very unstable. It's very juicy, it's very moist. Here it's a lot drier and considerably more stable, so all the shower and thunderstorm activity fires up here. And out west, especially western Kansas, we may see some very heavy rains falling. We have some powerful thunderstorms going on right now. What's going to happen is all this moisture is going to drift our way as you look at 12 hours worth of radar or satellite imagery. There's that upper level low. It's been spinning its wheels over the Four Corners for 5 days now, just starting to drift our way. It's going to keep us in the clouds tomorrow and Saturday, and a very good chance of rain. But the rains won't likely get here until sometime tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow evening or tomorrow night. And then on Friday, the whole thing moves on over, and Saturday too. Sunday a little better. But the next few days are going to be cloudy, chance of rain starting tomorrow afternoon into Saturday, off and on. Won't rain all the time, and temperatures will stay mild. 58 degrees for an overnight low tonight, up into the upper 70s tomorrow. So our forecast is calling for cloudy skies tonight. Not a bad night. Mild temperatures, 58 degrees is where we will bottom out. Then tomorrow, what you'll notice is the clouds are going to hang around, a chance of storms starting tomorrow afternoon, late, continuing into tomorrow night, and a high of 78 degrees. And on Saturday, cloudy, scattered storms. Not all the time, but hit and miss showers and thunderstorms. 80 degrees for a high temperature. Sunday, we start to see a little bit of the sun later in the day. And actually, the beginning and probably first half of next week, right now on the longer range maps, is looking very nice indeed. So do your picnics Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Okay, I think I will. Of course, I have to take off work, but that can be arranged.
That's okay. I'll write you a note.
Okay. Yeah, I'll love it.
Well, this is a big night for George Brett.
Tonight, the first of a host of activities leading to the Royals Hall of Fame. We'll have a live report coming up next in sports.
I think we could could call the next few days George Brett days in Kansas City.
This is it, isn't it?
Sure.
It's all heavy. I was talking to him on the phone. He says, I go 6 months, I don't hear from anybody. Now in 5 days, I don't know what to do. Everybody's after me, right?
Out, right?
Yeah, really. Well, it was billed as a star-studded civic tribute to George Brett. Friends, former teammates, and baseball fans gathered tonight to honor the best player to ever wear a Royals uniform. The big weekend is underway to be capped off with George's induction into the Hall of Fame on Saturday when his uniform will be retired. Neil Jones joins us live from Crown Center. George kind of looked a little serious when he walked into that ballroom tonight. I'm sure more festive air prevailed down there, Neil.
Well, you know, he just got finished talking just a moment ago, Jack, and one of the first things he said was, I thought this was going to be a roast, and everybody was so nice to me. Now, we're just outside the ballroom. As we said, the banquet is still going on. A crowd of around 600 people paid $100 apiece, with the proceeds all going to charity in order to hear men like Dan Quisenberry, Hal McRae, and Whitey Herzog as they recalled their fondest memories of George Brett.
Let me tell you something about George. George didn't need a man. I never taught George Brett anything about baseball. George Brett knew how to play baseball. George Brett knew how to hit. He knew how to run the bases. He knew how to field, but he loved to play baseball. The damnedest young ball player I ever seen. It was refreshing to be able to go out every night and pencil his name in the third spot lineup and just watch him play. How he enjoyed baseball, how he loved to play.
Well, as you can see, Jack, the crowd really milling around, having a great time as it just wound down. It's going to be a great kickoff to what should be just an exciting, exciting weekend for baseball fans and fans of George Brett this weekend at Kauffman Stadium.
Let's kind of run through the activities now. Tomorrow night's going to be banner night, right, at the stadium, and then, of course, the induction on Saturday. You heard anything about tickets? I understand Saturday's game is a sellout or close to that.
There's going to be a few tickets on sale on Saturday, the day of the game. General admission seats around 3,000 tickets, but other than that, that is going to be it, Jack. So if people want to get a chance to see all the fun on Friday night or Sunday, they need to get out to the box office and get some tickets because it should be just an exciting weekend.
All right, Neil, thanks a lot. Of course, we'll have a special Sunday night at 10:30 on George Brett. Now, the Royals have the day off. The A's will be in town tomorrow. You know, even a good rain shower could not slow down the Yankees, who are really sizzling these days. They came from behind this afternoon to win in 10 innings and sweep the Cleveland Indians, who have lost 9 of their last 10. The Yankees have now won 7 in a row, 7-6 final score. Meanwhile, the A's have lost 20 of their last 22 games. Detroit beats Oakland 6-5. One other game in the American League, Boston over Milwaukee 3-1. Now the National, Phillies 6-4, and the Cubs stop the bleeding, beating the Cardinals 8-6. Want to take you down to Busch Stadium. They had some anxious moments here when Tom Pagnassi and former Royal Greg Jeffries collided. Jeffries went down hard. He will be all right. The Cubs came back to win this game in the 9th inning on Sean Dunstan's 2-run homer, a pinch hit home run for the Cubs shortstop. Now the San Jose Sharks, the biggest story in the Stanley Cup playoffs. The Sharks, the last among the 16 teams to qualify for the playoffs, have already knocked Detroit out. Tonight they went after Toronto, and the game went into overtime. And that's how it has just ended. Toronto beating the Sharks by the score of 3-2. So Game 7 on Saturday in Toronto. And another round of the NBA playoffs tonight. The Indiana Pacers upset Atlanta in Game 1, but no way tonight at the Omni. The Hawks took control of this basketball game early on and poured it on. They'll even sling in a few from out there in 3-ball range. And this series now tied at a game apiece between the Hawks and Pacers. Final score in the basketball game tonight, 92-69, Atlanta by 23. The other one underway first quarter, Utah leads Denver by the score of 17-16. Missouri basketball coach Norm Stewart is feeling pretty good tonight. He signed Sammy and Simeon Haley, 7-foot identical twins from Connors State College in Oklahoma. The United States women volleyball team will be in Kansas City tomorrow night for a match against Japan. The last time the two teams played here in 1991 at Municipal Auditorium, Japan won it 3-2. Many of these gals were on the bronze-winning Olympic team 2 years ago and look forward to the 1996 Olympics in Atlanta. You talk about being dedicated, they practice year-round, see?
Yes.
Monday through Friday. Then they lift weights, things that we never do, right?
They are very good athletes.
They are good, they really are.
Now here are tonight's winning lottery numbers. Well, what kind of a day are we looking at tomorrow?
Gray and potentially wet towards the end of the day. But out the door, the clouds are coming in, 60 degrees, going to be a mild start to the morning, but maybe a wet one by the time the day's over.
So dress like you do right now, but take an umbrella.
Good point.
Okay.
In tonight's good news, a New Jersey boy still thinks he did the right thing, but he's getting a lot of grief because he returned $6,000 in cash. Larry Hendrickson found the money in the street inside a cosmetics bag, along with papers identifying the owner. Larry says he thought about all the things that he could do with the money, but he gave it to his mother to return. He says a lot of friends and their parents have been teasing him about turning in the cash, but Larry's dad says he's proud to have such an honest son.
And I'll bet that boy felt real good,
That's
too.
right. He
You
knows he
better
did the
believe
right
it.
thing.
You know it. Well, that's our report tonight. Late Show with David Letterman is next on Channel 5.
We leave you on the plaza with music from the Penguin at tonight's free concert. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night, everyone.